We see a couple at the starting of the film. That was an elderly couple. The old lady's nose begins to bleed unexpectedly. She becomes terrified when she sees her husband. Because her husband's eyes were also bleeding. It was looking creepy. The scene 2 months later is shown after it. The two best friends are shown. Eugene is one, and William is the other. They were sitting in the bar and drinking. Their house was on the hills, and they took some tourists on the hills. They believed Dracula was buried there. His grave was there, and massive stones had been placed on it. They say some strange things to those tourists. When one of them comes close to it, you will hear some voices. SP, their friend, appears and scares him. The tourists leave, furious. Eugene finds a skull from the basement of his parents' house. It was turned black. Eugene brings it home and places it on the dining table. While looking at it, his father asks him, "What have you brought? Do you know whose skull is this?" We have been shown Eugene is shown in a bar with his friend William and a female friend. Eugene and William leave for the house late at night. They were passing from the grave of Dracula on hills. Meanwhile, they are arguing about something. Eugene pushes William while fighting as his hand touches the gravestone. His hand begins to bleed, and he is injured. Meanwhile, a pig comes from the forest and attacks William. It kills him brutally. It was happening in front of Eugene's eyes, but he couldn't do anything to help his friend. William's father also arrives, and we notice something strange here. The blood near the grave mysteriously vanishes. Following that, William's father retrieves his son's body from the police. The next day, we see they want to do some construction work near the grave on hills. They were all terrified of removing the grave. Eugene bravely removes the grave from there without being scared. His friend SP disappoints on it. He was expecting something terrible. A worker is shown in the next scene. He is one of them who was doing construction work on the hills. He feels the presence of someone while sitting in the office. He goes to check and calls, but no one answers. He goes to a room while checking and we see a lot of blood there. Someone had clearly assaulted the worker. All of them reach the construction site. We are shown that they notice something shocking there. The grave, which they had broken the day before, was restored to its original state. The stones which they removed from the grave were again there. They suspect William's father after seeing it. He was the one who forbade anyone from breaking the grave. We see Eugene's father on the other side. He doesn't want his son to involve in this. He asks him to stay away from this. Eugene doesn't obey him. Meanwhile, the worker who was injured by someone late at night arrives. Eugene's father claims that he drinks beer all the time when he sees him. We will not do our work for him unless he flees from here. We thought he was dead after witnessing an attack on a worker late at night. Eugene takes the worker with him while sitting in the car. Suddenly, the worker tries to bite Eugene while taking. The car loses its balance when he tries to escape from him. The car gets into an accident. Eugene's father, who was in the hills at the time, runs towards the car when he sees this. He immediately takes out Eugene from the car. He sees the worker has disappeared. When he looked for the worker, he didn't find him. They all try to search for the worker with the torch in the dark rooms. Meanwhile, a torchlight falls on the worker's face. The worker was injured and his condition was worse. His face was bleeding. The worker attacks the man who was having the torch in hand. He kills him, brutally. Meanwhile, Eugene's female friend reaches and uses a pole to assault the worker. She beats him with the pole until his heart attaches to it and falls out. It is a terrible scene surely. But the shocking thing is the worker was still alive. He was still breathing. They throw him in a deep ditch while burying him. Instead of this, he wasn't dying. He was charging out with the pole like a beast. They all get scared while seeing in front of them. Eugene's friend uses the machine to throw soil on the worker. It was a wise task. They do this so that he is completely buried in the grave and cannot be extricated. Another strange thing we noticed was that it was the worker who attacked the man. His blood was slowly seeping into the grave. Meanwhile, we see a terrible foot comes out of the grave. They were terrified when they saw it. It was clear even in the grave, the worker wasn't dead. They all go to William's father. They tell him everything. William's father wasn't believing them. While searching for something, Eugene sees William's father is doing something strange. He was extracting the blood from the animals after they had been slaughtered. Nobody knows why is he doing this. They want to know, but when they ask William's father is enraged and points a gun at them. Eugene's friend makes him relax somehow. William's father tells Eugene about a room. He also asks Eugene to go to the room. When he goes there, he sees William is still alive. He isn't dead. Eugene was terrified and astounded when he saw this. William didn't look like a human, but his condition was animal-like. For him, his father was killing and taking out animals' blood. William's father tells when I was doing postmortem of my son. While taking to my wife. William awoke unexpectedly. After witnessing the scene, William's mother suffers from depression. We locked William in a room because he wasn't powerful at that time. Actually, it all happened as a result of Dracula's resurgence. Because they had desecrated his grave. Dracula's soul has possessed William. They all are facing problems because of Dracula. They read Dracula's book from which they come to know Dracula can't be killed. Eugene's father was adamantly opposed. He believes that if they cut off William's head, everything will return to normal. This all will be finished. They all make a plan to kill William unwillingly. While they were planning, William's mother awoke unexpectedly. She shoots and injures William's father in order to prevent him from killing William. Then William attacks his mother. He bites her and kills her. When they see all of this, they become terrified and flee. To escape they sit in a car. None has the key to the car. William also arrives there. He wants to kill everyone, but William's father doesn't want this. He competes with his son himself. They all come in and take refuge in the house. William comes there while searching for everyone. SP was hiding there after cleverly encasing William in a coffin. He calls everyone there to help him. They all put the lid on the coffin. SP is injured while locking William in the coffin. So he dies there. They bury the coffin. We are shown the scene 2 months from where the film begins. The scene where we saw the old couple with bleeding eyes and nose. It happened to them because Dracula was moving towards the city. Following Dracula's arrival in the city, everyone begins to bleed like water. They all go to help the people in the city who buried the dead body of William. Meanwhile, Eugene realizes that Dracula's castle is his parents' home. He found a black skull there. He believes he will encounter Dracula there. Eugene and his father hide in their home. We see Eugene's father makes him faint in order to save him. To compete the Dracula alone, Dracula appears in front of him. Eugene's father uses an axe to sever her head. He feels relieved after accomplishing this because he believes he has killed Dracula. When he was telling this to his son Eugene, Dracula reappears and assaults Eugene's father. It was clear that Dracula can't be killed. It means the book was right. Eugene and his father emerge from the sewer using a trash pipe. When he sees sunlight, he goes into hiding with his father. Being hidden he believes Dracula will perish from exposure to sunlight. He notices the sunlight isn't affecting Dracula's body. Eugene is terrified when he sees it, and to save his father he hides him somewhere while dragging. Eugene's father tells him that stopping and killing Dracula is important. We see Eugene separates the injured leg of his father from his body. As Dracula moved closer to him, his fear grew stronger. Eugene attacks Dracula with his father's leg after breaking it. Dracula immediately falls into a ditch. Eugene puts soil on her without wasting time. Following that, he places massive stones in the area, so the Dracula couldn't come out from there. Meanwhile, Eugene's female friend comes and rescues them. Following that, we are shown the scene 3 months later. We see Eugene and his father. Eugene's father has lost his leg but he was alive. He was telling Eugene that while cleaning the house, he discovered some stones. Eugene takes those stones to Dracula's grave. He places those stones on her grave to strengthen it, so the Dracula couldn't escape ever. With that, the film comes to an end. Thank you for your time.